Good morning, welcome to Delaware Tech. My name is Chris Moody. I'm the Director of Corporate and Community Programs here. And welcome to 1 Million Cups Delaware. This will be our second official partnership with the Kauffman Foundation. So we continue to be excited about this, and if at all possible, make sure that everyone is spreading the word about this, because again, it takes a community to make this event grow. So I'm not sure if we're live here on the mic again, but our first presenter will be Zach King. So I'll turn it over to Zach. Welcome, Zach.
How's everybody doing today? I've got Delaware Distilling Company. We're right on Route 1 in Rehoboth. In addition to that, I have a small restaurant down in Dewey Beach called Port, where the old Dewey Beach Club was. We've been there for about 3 years now. The newest things happening right now with Delaware Distilling Company. We did a name change from our first restaurant there, Old Bay. We're waiting for our distilling permits to get processed. That name change happened in May of this year. We're now starting to distribute out our gin product. I kind of want to talk a little bit about the setup of that distillery, how all that worked. It was a really, really exciting year for me, getting all that set up and jumping through all the hurdles and the red tape and all those challenges that went along with it, and trying to manage all that. And now that we're up and running, it's kind of cool to look back on it and see how it all got set up. I guess the most difficult part for the whole transformation and setup of the distillery is that there's not really a school or classes or anything you can go to learn this kind of stuff, and there's not a lot of like businesses around that you can go and talk to owners of to get feedback and try and figure out what mistakes they made or how they did it. There's one other small distillery in Delaware now, so we were kind of on our own with getting this stuff set up and figuring out the rules and regulations and dealing with local authorities and also state and national authorities to try and get everything set up from a legal standpoint. Location itself, dealing with the TTB, which is the Alcohol Tobacco Tax Trade Bureau. They've got a pretty extensive licensing program. It takes about a year to get the programs to do that. We had to have a location established before we even applied for our licensing. So having the first restaurant, I was looking for a second. I was looking for a second restaurant with a second income stream, which the distilling part would be that second income stream. We found this location right on Route 1 in Rehoboth available. We took that over, applied for our distilling permits. When we took that over, picked a temporary name as Old Bay and ran it solely as a restaurant for a year. In that year, we were dealing with all the local authorities, state authorities, trying to get our approvals to set up as a distillery. Excuse me, but we couldn't really announce that we were doing a distillery there because we weren't sure that everything was going to work out. So that whole time we're kind of putting money out, putting time out to get all this stuff established, and trying to figure out whether it is possible to do what we want to do, have a distillery within a restaurant where we had it and make the products we want to make, and also distribute it out to liquor stores and other restaurants eventually for that second income stream. We got through all of that in that first year, dealing with the state, dealing with the federal TTB, getting our approvals, getting our formulations, label approvals. All that stuff has to go through the TTB for us to be able to make our products. Learning the distillation was a whole challenge on its own. Setting up the distillery was another challenge on its own. There's not companies we can hire to come in and say, hey, we want a distillery, set it up for us and go. We had to learn, the fermentation process, the distillation process. If we want to age spirits, we had to kind of learn that, and a lot of it was learning it on our own, doing some research online, and trying to find some resources across the country to help us out with that. But a lot of it had to be self-taught, and the challenge of that was really interesting, and the byproduct of what we were actually producing, even from our first, second, and third trial runs of things were turning out decent, and we were really happy with what we had coming out of the distillery. Sources for our material, ingredients, all that kind of stuff, that's another difficult thing to source. It was a whole nother world for us here. We're used to restaurants and ordering food and liquor from our distributors and that type of thing, and now we're looking for companies to make our labels and source bottles from and buy yeast for our fermentations, and we're dealing with a whole nother realm of companies and manufacturers to get that kind of stuff through to us. Gauging our production on a distribution level was something that was pretty interesting as well. We once we got the restaurant established, did the name change to Delaware Distilling Company, started making our first 3 core products. We could sell those at the restaurant and sell drinks at the restaurant with those products. Our next step was distribution. So we're looking at distributing out to liquor stores, other restaurants, and trying to gauge what we can actually produce compared to the number of stores in Delaware, the number of restaurants in Delaware, and where we want to be, what products we want to distribute out was pretty difficult. And we had to we figured out that we had to be really flexible with both our production levels and what products we're producing. We settled on our gin because it's something that we can produce on a little bit of a larger scale and be a little bit more flexible if our distributor picks up our product and decides that, from day one they're putting us in 60 liquor stores, which is basically what's happening, and however many restaurants decide they want to pick the product up we need to be at a point where we can make 400 or 500 cases a month in a couple months if that happens. So going into a distributor 8 weeks ago, which is probably what it was, to now, we're in about 30 or 40 liquor stores and 20 or 30 restaurants right now, which happened in 2 or 3 weeks of them having the product and starting to push it out. So, we went from making 5 or 10 cases of gin a month just for production or just for use in the restaurant to probably 150 to 200 cases a month of gin that's going out to the distributors, and that's only the first couple weeks. So putting a plan in place to grow quickly as the demand asks for the product was something pretty interesting as well. And we do pretty much have a full plan in place to where when the other stores get picked up, as the consumption starts growing, as people get hooked on the product, and we're selling more and more of it, we're able to double or triple our capacity pretty easily. On top of all that, that's, that would have been a normal setup process for pretty much any distillery. On top of all that, we kind of had, the restaurant to rebrand all at the same time of doing this. We set up a full merchandise, gift shop, bottle shop, where we have probably 25 different items branded Delaware Distilling Company, from regular t-shirts and hats to flasks and glasses and shot glasses to age your own whiskey kits. So there's some cool stuff there, and that was all kind of part of the setup too, to make everything work together with the branding. So that's it in a 6-minute nutshell. If anybody has any questions.
Thanks, Zach.
Are there any questions?
Morning. Thanks, Zach. I'm just want to say congratulations on Delaware Distilling Company.
Thanks.
Would you talk a little bit more about your structure? I hear you say our. Is it a partnership, or is it?
I just kind of say our as, the restaurant, the distillery employees and everything. I'm the principal of both businesses. They're kind of separate entities, the restaurant and the distillery. I have small couple of % partners in each, just for some, initial startup and capital and stuff like that. But nobody that's really operational or there on a daily basis, or any large portion. So.
And how many employees do you have?
Between the restaurant and the distillery right now, we've got about 40. That'll grow slightly. We're kind of in our seasonal mode now, though, so we'll drop 10 employees in October from the restaurant, and then we'll slowly pick up distillery employees over the next couple months, so we'll probably be back to that 40 number by October, November. Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions?
Besides gin, is there anything else you're planning on adding as a product line? Is it just
The gin is the only thing that we're distributing out to liquor stores and restaurants. We make a potato vodka and a rum that's for sale at the restaurant. Mm-hmm. We've also made brandies, bourbons, whiskeys, moonshines. We've been playing around with a lot of stuff. Our license allows us to do pretty much anything we want in the distilled spirits realm. So we will have some bourbon, some aged gin, aged rum coming out in the next 3, 4, 5 months. Our next product to distribute will most likely be a flavored moonshine. We also have an thanks. We also have an infusion bar. That's for consumption on premise at the restaurant as well. We take our vodka, our rum, and our gin, and use fresh fruits and ingredients and do 20 different infusions. So that's kind of a way to use the flavored vodkas and rums and gins and everything have been really popular lately. So that gives kind of a fresh twist to it. We won't be selling those out the door, but come in and get some really cool cocktails with that stuff.
Are there any other questions?
Hi, Zach. Congratulations, too. You mentioned that you had challenges trying to acquire the information for your processes and so forth. Were there any other organizations or agencies that you were able to either get knowledge from or that was able to assist you in other ways?
There's the American Distilling Institute is really the only resource for us. They do a pretty decent job as the industry is growing pretty rapidly. There's a conference they have every year, which we went out to in April. It wasn't too late, but it could have came a few months sooner. But we had already kind of got a lot of our processes in place before we went to that conference. But we got a lot of good resources for materials and products and stuff like that out there as well. But besides that, going out west where there are a higher volume of distilleries in certain states would have been probably the best way to pick up on a lot of stuff. But there's not a lot for resources.
Thank you. How about exporting? You talked about Delaware and the restaurants locally, exporting regionally or internationally eventually.
We're already working on that because the processes can take so long. Our growth plan is set to where as we're growing, I have certain timelines for, if we get to a certain number of cases by X date, we're at expansion number 1 where we buy a second still and set that up inside the restaurant. If we hit a certain amount of cases by this date, we're going to go out and find a warehouse location for storage and for a second distillery location where we have more space and are able to produce a little bit higher. So we've got Delaware kind of situated. We know within 2 months at the very most, we'll have Delaware pretty saturated. As far as liquor stores and restaurants, the only X factor there is how quickly the consumption of the product rises and how much production we're going to have in Delaware. But we've got Maryland and DC licenses and permits and everything working right now to where we'll be able to launch there in about a month if we want to. Again, it's all dependent on Delaware and our production levels, but it's likely we'll be in stores there in 6 to 8 weeks.
Zach, can you comment on your value proposition? There's a lot of different gins and rums and vodkas in the market. What is it that you do that the other distilleries don't do? What's special to your company? Why should somebody in Maryland or Virginia or anywhere else buy your product versus somebody else's product?
Yeah, I mean, we've got the local aspect for Delaware. Maryland and Virginia and DC will obviously resonate some with the Delaware product. Our gin particularly is a premium product. We're marketing it against Tanqueray, Bombay, Hendricks, all these larger gin producers. Our competition, Tanqueray, Bombay, Hendricks, are distilling their products between 3 and 4 times. We're distilling our gin 8 times, which gives it a much smoother finish. In addition to that, you're not getting as much of that harsh alcohol gin taste, which a lot of people are kind of turned off by gin because they've had a bad experience on it or it has that harsh alcohol taste. And the main reason gin has that is because they don't distill it as many times because the juniper berry traditionally covers up those impurities and that alcohol taste. So we've kind of made a hybrid gin product that vodka drinkers like and gin drinkers like, and it's a lot smoother. We don't use as much of the juniper berry, so it's not quite as pungent and harsh as most gins. 9 out of 10 people that try it, that say, I don't like gin, drink it and say, wow, I could actually drink this product.
Are there any other questions? Okay, last question is the one that I like to ask at the end is, what can we do as a community to help you?
The biggest thing for us right now is just product awareness. Letting people know, not just what we have going on, but that we're there, that our product's out there. if it comes up in a conversation, say, you know, it's in most of your local liquor stores right now, you know, if you go to your local liquor store and you don't see it there, ask the guy at the counter, hey, do you guys have Delaware Distilling Company gin? Are you gonna get it? Have you heard of it? You know, I'd like to buy some. If you guys had it here, I would buy it. You know, that helps us get into some of the stores that might be hesitant to pick our product up. And then just going into the store and buying a bottle to show, you know, the liquor stores that, you know, this product is moving, and also to try it and, you know, hopefully find something new that you like and turn your friends onto it and that kind of stuff. So,
Shelley
you.
has a quick question.
Do you have a Facebook page, Twitter account?
we do,
You
yeah.
doing, like,
Delaware
the whole
Distilling
social-
Company is
Yeah.
on there. DelawareDistillingCompany.com. We have our website, full description of all of our liquors and all that stuff. More geared around the restaurant right now. As the distribution and stuff starts growing, we'll have pages that show, you know, partnering restaurants, who's got our product, partnering liquor stores, who has our product, and more geared around the distillery part.
Thanks, Zach. Great presentation.
Thanks, guys.